coaching menopause fitness clients, they aren't going to respond the way men or younger women do. In this third episode in a series, I actually pulled back just a bit to look at the big picture so you can see both the reasons on a superficial level, but I think you need big picture before you can really dive deep between the differences or nuances between perimenopause and postmenopause and the need for modification. So if you're joining us for the first time to listen to this episode, we'll also link to the episode on specifically perimenopause and the one on postmenopause. And coming up next is working with women with osteoporosis. What it is that you need to know. And we're not just putting the run of the mill information here, and we're not just putting the detailed and specific medical exercise specialist information here either. There's a little bit more deeper that we go in terms of mindset. Where are they? What do you need to catch in order to help compliance and to maybe release some fear? I'm Deborah Atkinson. You're listening to She Means Fitness Business. It's a division of my business, Voice for Fitness. And here at Voice for Fitness, my entire team believes you want to be an inspirational example to other midlife women. And in order to do that, you and I both need a profitable health and fitness coaching business, because profit means we have money to do things with. Even if you're uncomfortable with making more money, you can give it away, girl. You can scholarship people if you're not comfortable with it. But the only way that you really make change in the world is to have some money in order to do things with, leverage it. And, a problem often is either a lack of clients or a lack of revenue from those clients because you're way undercharging. I talked with a woman today in a consultation that actually wasn't about her business, but we began chatting, and she is far undercharging for or thinking of it. I said, let's rethink this. That would be like one of 3 payments for something that you're going to do for 12 weeks. And, this is just an example, and this is a highly educated medical professional. That's an important distinction. I want you to know it's not how many degrees, how many certifications, or how many years. It's what kind of transformation are you capable of producing? And are you demonstrating you produced it for yourself? Are you demonstrating you've produced it for hundreds or dozens at least of people, getting predictable, reliable, consistent results for people using a process or a method? If you can say yes to those things, your value just went up, my friend. And if you can't yet, you can soon, but you need to put into action the right steps in order to do that. If you'd like to talk to me about, number one, how to do that, and if you're ready, how we get you more clients, how we make sure that you're charging enough so you actually get more profit, and number 3, that we keep time. Nobody needs to be backed into a corner and wants to be working coast to coast in order to make a great living, because then you're not loving the living. What's the point, right? So first, I'd love for you to book a call, but before you do that, just go get the Health and Fitness Pros Business Scorecard. In about 2 minutes, you'll see all the steps that need to be in place. It's what I put into place to go from zero. I started over. I gutted my life and my business at 49. But I went from bringing in $0 a month, really, to bringing in 6-figure months. You can do that too. Every woman listening needs to hear this. You need an abundance attitude. It's not a bad thing that a woman is doing this. It's a good thing that a woman is doing this, a different woman than you, because it says you can too. And there's plenty for us. There are plenty of people who need help and support, and you have crazy good skills that nobody else can do, just like you do. So reach out to me, but let's dive into this episode talking about coaching menopause fitness clients. So I'm going to launch into these 10 things. We're going to do this almost like speed dating. So number 1, what you do in perimenopause versus postmenopause may be quite different. You want to make sure that you're aware of whether it's working or not whether you're following the guidelines or the position statements, but how does she feel? Number 2, during the menopause transition, it takes about 2 to 5 years, women are highly at risk for accelerated loss of muscle and bone. That, number one, is huge leverage for you. It in itself is marketing. If you're combining that with a pandemic we just came through, any woman who went through that menopause transition and the pandemic without weights at home or not knowing what to do with them or didn't use them needs you desperately to mitigate losses that occurred. Number three, if a woman you work with went through the pandemic, not lifting, here we go again, and was in this transition, the time to mitigate is now. And here's why. We're going to see the backlash. We're going to see it. And I don't mean in weight gain and fat. I mean in disability. A woman who has lost muscle rapidly during that time because she was less active, she was more comfort eating or drinking, is probably going to be more frail than she needs to be in about 8 or 10 years. But not if we can mitigate it now. Despite her plea or goal to lose weight, get a body composition test and measure muscle and weight regularly. Now, this is really important. There are smart scales out there, and women are now smart enough to buy them. So not just using weight, but they're getting on a smart scale. However, smart scales vary in what they're doing. Some are telling percent of muscle. I do not think that's valuable. We want to know what's your weight in muscle. And yes, I know you and I can do math. However, if percent of body fat goes up or down, what we should see is that lean muscle mass. We want to see whether that changed in pounds. We don't necessarily want to see that percent change as a default of body composition changing, and we will. And so it gets more complicated if you're looking at percentages. You want to know percent body fat. What is that? And then you want to know pounds of lean muscle mass. If worst case scenario, you can't get that, you need to just factor what is fat-free mass. Take the weight times the percent body fat, get that number, and make sure that you're subtracting that weight in pounds and figuring out what's total fat-free mass. Now, that's going to include organs and bone and muscle, but potentially bone and organs are not going to change too dramatically. So the biggest change will probably be in muscle, and that would be at least a better number than just a number on a scale. They're on their way to a smoother ride, but they are not there yet when they hit that 12-month free of period moment. Many women have breakthrough bleeding later. So when hormones are volatile in the 40s for most women, it could start in early 30s for some, could be delayed until 50s for others. But when that up and down roller coaster is happening, and for many, they will have sporadic periods, it'll be very irregular before it is ever stopping completely. That, time is when they've got hot flashes or night sweats. They've got more symptoms if they're going to have them. And that's when weight gain, when whatever they used to do doesn't work anymore, when sleep might be a problem. That roller coaster is going to smooth out when they get to postmenopause. It doesn't occur right away for all women, but it will occur. And that will make it easier for her to exercise on a regular basis, get a little bit better sleep, potentially dial up the exercise frequently slightly if you know how to do it. I'm not talking everything, talking about just specific things in order to combat the muscle loss and therefore the fat gain that can occur after that. Whether they choose or opt not to choose hormone replacement therapy, the recommendations for exercise and exercise nutrition are the same for women in menopause. That is, not for mice, not for men, or not for young women. They need to abide by nutrition statistics based on women in midlife and older. So, a woman who has lost estrogen has more likelihood of losing muscle and bone density. And she needs to be stabbing that bigger piece of meat on the table. It's hers. She needs it more than a male does, even a male her same age. He's still got more testosterone. He may too be going through an andropause of his own, but he's coming in for an easy landing. He's not crashing off a cliff the way it occurs with women generally in menopause. I mean, we kind of hit that stop and it's like, boom, estrogen dropped pretty dramatically in a very short amount of time. She needs that, and she needs it for her. HRT, by the way, is not the same across the board. If you're aware of that and what to ask your clients about hormone replacement therapy and bioidentical hormone replacement therapy, that will increase your personal knowledge of why your client may or may not be getting or having success, and you'll be able to support her better and increase your value. So do your homework if you don't already know this. Get into a program, something like the Flipping 50 Menopause Fitness Specialist, if you haven't already gone through it, and familiarize yourself with all the right questions and all the right answers that were within your scope of practice to be an educator or a resource, or leading someone to where they can do their own self-exploration. That is within your scope of practice. Anecdotally, I can tell you that women on bioidentical hormones tend to have a slightly easier time controlling their body composition and increasing their lean muscle mass and bone density. Now, I've also had women not on HRT increase their bone density. So it's not a given. It's not a deal breaker. But just across the board, when you have more experience and you know more yourself, you will know more of what to ask when you're talking to a group. And you don't want to be surprised by someone in an audience you might be presenting to saying, is this the same for women who are not on hormones as it is for women in hormones, right? And that question doesn't faze me at all because I know the answer to it. I know it scientifically and I know it anecdotally, but you want to be able to prepare yourself for Q&As just like that. And, or if you've decided, I don't feel comfortable with this, expand your resource. Your network should include, this is my go-to. I'm referring to this person for that question. And that actually will help you. If you're referring to other fitness professionals within your network, that will grow your referrals back to you. Next is estrogen, as well as progesterone and testosterone, drop with menopause. However, a woman can be estrogen dominant due to multiple factors, and you need to recognize them and adopt a fitness program that supports this. It's not going to be HIIT and high intensity weight training, even if she's gaining weight and needing energy. I mean, this is really, really key. So if somebody has got estrogen dominance, you don't want them doing HIIT. You don't want them doing high intensity weight training, right? And that would be, wait, you should be scratching your head, because ordinarily we want to increase lean muscle mass to decrease body composition. And you would think, oh, well, wait a minute, isn't that really truly what I do want? And the answer, again, unfortunately, is no, it's not. So you need to kind of know the nuances about what is estrogen dominance. If you've not heard that and what makes it happen, what can you do to counter it? Sleep deprivation will interfere with any attempts toward exercise or diet results. And that means even a woman who's pushing through and say she's getting it done, but she's struggling with her sleep, she's not going to get good results. And potentially she may be causing her cortisol levels to be even worse because of it. So really important that you're supporting and considering every time you talk to her, how is the sleep? How is the stress level? Tell me about your eating habits recently. What you have today? How hydrated you are? All the things that need to be discussed before you begin an exercise program on any given day. Gut health will interfere with muscle, with bone, and with brain benefits of exercise. Working knowledge of how to help and intake questions reflective of gut health are key to supporting individuals in menopause. So, if again you feel like, well, this is outside of my scope of practice, I'm going really, really deep in a certain strength training regime or workout or functional exercise, positioning, or whatever your specific niche might be, and gut health just feels like it's outside of it. What you do need to know is the importance of gut health, and that if gut health is not being observed or enjoyed, that the absorption of micronutrients necessary for development of muscle and bone and brain benefits from exercise or simply from healthy living otherwise will not be present. You can't get the reward because it's kind of like things are going in, but they're also filtering out the end. Signs of gut health needing some attention: constipation, diarrhea, gas, bloating. A lot of women will have those. GERD, meaning reflux, also ideas. So things that only you or largely you, especially if you're face to face with your clients. And if not, even on Zoom, do you make it a habit of before you get started? Do they fill something out? Do they fill it out after or every time that you meet with them so that you're aware of, here's another way I can help you, either by yourself supporting with, here's some step-by-step things that I can use to support my clients, or by, again, a referral to that network, or here's some next steps or some resources. There is a huge demand and a need to be super approachable when you're coaching menopause fitness clients. It is rapidly becoming a niche. And yet, if it's a niche and you are busting into this because you love it and you look the part, you may look so good that you're actually a little intimidating. So you need to realize that. Since 2018, we have educated hundreds of primarily female coaches and trainers with the Flipping 50 menopause fitness specialist. And that's just, speaking a small bit about, who else is out there. But have you noticed the title? A lot of people are donning this title. And 5 years ago, that wasn't true. 10 years ago, when I started this, no one else was using this term. Nobody else was even causing or paying attention to menopause fitness specialist. Now it's like, oh, that's cool. Before it was like, oh, really? Yeah, like they didn't get it. But now, because it's being more popular, that's a good thing. And it's probably really pointing to a huge opportunity for quality now, because as more people enter a continuum, the continuum gets broader and longer, not deeper in a certain area. Like the quality is not more deep or it's not higher. It's broader. There's a lot of lesser, barely there, using a title, not necessarily with the knowledge. And then there's got the knowledge, maybe not the marketing. And we want you to have the whole package. So really, you want to get niched, whatever that word is. Many even have their own frustrations, right? Many of the coaches and trainers working with women, we're not immune. So if this is you, you're not alone. Don't be afraid to be transparent about what it is that you have gone through or maybe going through. Talk about issues you've had, mistakes you've made. We're looking for more trainers and health coaches to join our directory, as more and more customers we have are seeking in real person menopause fitness specialists. If you coach weight loss, athletes, overall health, and you want to be included in this group, I'll share how to get started during Menopause Month in October and gain some huge perks as a result of doing that. Our menopause fitness specialist is enrolling during Menopause Month. You don't have to be a perfect body to be a good menopause fitness coach. You want to have adequate experience coaching others in the niche that you're in, or have solved a major problem for at least yourself. You want a proven track record or credentials. They make the difference. A title is not a qualification. And too many coaches and trainers right now are finding out as savvy clients become more educated themselves that it just won't fly. You can connect with your audience better by doing this, by kind of relaying, what you've gone through. I'll link to another episode where I discussed how to connect with an audience with a certain formula, a 3-step formula that you can use every time you talk, every time you write an email or a sales page, or you're doing an audio interview for that matter. You can connect to your audience so much better. And we're looking for connection. We're so very hungry for it. You are, really, if you can relate, you can articulate something complex in a very simple way, you have made a very strong relationship. And that's what real clients, real customers who invest in themselves and then in you are looking for. So don't skip that part. Don't negate it. I'm going to put some links into the show notes for resources and other episodes that you might like, including the podcast just recently released on perimenopause, things to know about working with women post-menopause. And I'd love to hear from you if you're interested in the Flipping 50 Fitness Specialist. And for those who are alumni of our specialist program in the alumni group, we have an opening for a foundation, a beta professional mastermind. So we're doing hot seats. We're helping with offers and marketing and getting ready for your next year. It's a month to month. There's no obligation. Right now you can get in and probably get a lot of, in these first few months, as there's fewer people, get a lot of opportunity to get one-on-one support in hot seats, but also benefit from hearing other people's asks about how do I present that? How do I advertise, or how do I fill butts in the seats? Those kinds of things are what we'll be doing. Just primarily 3 Thursdays a month, we do hot seats. If you can't join us live, you do still have access to the library. You may find even that is accessible because you can still turn in a hot seat application and not be there live, and we will lean into it and give you the support and the help that you need. There you have it. What are you waiting for? You're going to find the show notes today at fitnessmarketingmastery.com/coaching menopause fitness. And what are you waiting for? The world needs us right now, more than ever.